There's a lot more to Rembrandt than actually just that single triangle. I found out that portrait photographers are the only ones that really talk about Rembrandt as far as the triangle of light, and there's many, many other aspects to it. And so that kind of started the quest, and obviously I've become obsessed. So.
How do you think learning more about Rembrandt can make us better photographers?
Well, he actually dealt with almost exactly the same things that we dealt with. He happened to be with a clientele that were very kind of upscale, up and coming, and very interested in new and trendy styles. And if you study Rembrandt and also his environment, his marketing environment, his business environment, and also the people he competed with, if you look closely at it, you can see how he actually differentiated himself from the other ones. There were thousands of portrait artists in Amsterdam when Rembrandt was working. The question became, well, why do we remember him? Why was he like the cream of the crop? And so you have to kind of look at those analogies so that you can say, well, if I'm going to do the same thing now in today's time, in today's marketplaces, how do I have to differentiate myself? He was a genius on so many different levels. Most people, again, know particularly the triangle of light, but he was the one. If you talk about etchers and etchings, he was considered within the top 5 of the world ever, probably 1 or 2. And interestingly enough, we talk a lot about product mix and having different diversity in your product lines, etc. But you can look at Rembrandt's work and realize that he did his portrait commissions, he did his thematic work, he did his large groups, etc. But he made his bread and butter on doing the etchings, and he did the etchings because they were reproducible and saleable. So that was his bread and butter product line that allowed him to do his other more spectacular product lines because they wouldn't pay the bills alone. In his day, Rembrandt was actually known for what he did with expression and spontaneity of his imagery. People look at the work, and in comparison to everyone else's work, his people seem much more approachable, much more alive, really incredibly like they're just in between expressions, and they just have an amazing approachability to them that no one else was able to achieve. And so expression was one of the things I learned from Rembrandt. What I learned also from Rembrandt is what he does with highlights. We talk a lot in PPA as a PPA judge about whether highlights are blown out or whether there's a specular highlight versus a diffuse highlight. And in just looking at his work and studying it, I learned that he has a complexity in what he does with highlights versus shadows that's really unique. And it's one of my obsessions as well. Everything I bring up, I try to make sure that it feels pertinent to what's going on. And so, I mean, the list is endless as far as how he worked and what he did, and even just his style of working and what he did in his career. It's really an amazing story, one of many from history. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it, because all the things that we're going through now, they are new to us. They are difficult for us. There aren't really any pat solutions for anything. But I think if you learn how people have approached the same issues in the past, you can say, well, maybe that won't work now, or maybe it did work. Once you lock yourself into that little box that defines you, then you're kind of stuck. And if I do anything, I try to break barriers in not only what I teach about, which is really, again, that Rembrandt thing. The concept of Rembrandt was purely just a triangle of light. Use such a small spectrum of what is actually there to learn about him. And if that's all you ever learn about the guy, then you're really missing out on a lot.